After decades of tension between the science and magic sides, World War III became inevitable as the alliance of Vatican City, Russia, and France declared war upon Academy City, and the man who held the real power over the Vatican, Fiamma of the Right. But what was Fiamma's plan? Why did he need Index's grimoires and the Imagine Breaker? What was his ultimate end goal? I'll be explaining step by step how World War III started in a certain magical index, and what was the method to Fiamma's madness. Fiamma's plan essentially was to become the one above God, or la persona superiore a Dio, to save the entire world. And what better way to save the world than nuking the hell out of it, resulting in countless deaths as Fiamma sought to recreate Noah's flood from the Bible, where God decided to wipe out Earth's population due to being unhappy at all of the sin of the world. Only Noah's family and one of every animal was saved, because God must love incest. In a similar manner, Fiamma believed Earth was too corrupt from war, natural disasters, and famine. He would therefore do a soft reset of Earth, killing many to preserve the planet for the future. But due to his megalomaniac personality of essentially believing he was the second coming of Christ, Fiamma saw himself as a messiah who would uphold his extremist form of Christian ideals upon the world after he quote-unquote saved it. His organization, God's Right Seat, is named after the means of how to achieve the one above God, giving Fiamma the immense power he needed, as the Archangel Michael is the angel who supposedly sits on the right seat of God in heaven, the same angel Fiamma is linked with. According to legend, the one who sits on the right seat has the capacity to surpass God, therefore becoming the almighty one above God. Since Fiamma is aligned with the Archangel Michael from birth and possesses the godly power of the Holy Right, Fiamma believes he is the Messiah, destined to save the world from all its impurities. And in order to do this, he needs even greater power. Fiamma's plan is somewhat convoluted with different requirements. I'll be going through his actions chronologically in the story soon, but first, here are some of the key points of his plan so you don't get too confused. Increase the world's malice. While not entirely essential on paper, Fiamma is convinced he must do this for his plan to succeed, as despite his extremely arrogant personality and OP as hell ability, Fiamma does not fully believe he has the capacity to save the world, since his holy right is powered by the malice of the Earth's population. And what better way to increase it than starting World War III of all things? Also, by doing this, it will present Fiamma with a clear and obvious target when saving the world, as if he reaches the one above God, he can wipe out a considerable amount of malice by destroying whatever is causing it, allowing the world to be rebuilt from the ground up. Fiamma is basically doing what Syndrome did in The Incredibles, manufacturing a problem and then solving it himself by basically nuking the hell out of everything. Genius. Steal Imagine Breaker. Toma's right hand has the ability to nullify any supernatural power, whether magic or science in nature. It also serves as a purification tool in the right hands. Right hands, get it? According to the Old Testament of the Bible, all humans have original sin due to Eve eating that goddamn fruit which cursed all of humanity. As a member of God's Right Seat, Fiamma's original sin has been cleansed so that he could only use angel-level spells, but it had not been fully eradicated, which is where Imagine Breaker would come in. It would fully purify the Holy Right, removing all of Fiamma's sin and giving him the status he needs to ascend above God. Access Index's grimoires. Due to Fiamma's limitation of only being able to use the angel-class spells from the Holy Right, he cannot use normal spells, which the average magician would have access to. But Fiamma can actually bypass this thanks to having Index's knowledge and grimoires, which would provide him with countless other spells to rely upon in combat. But more importantly, it would allow Fiamma to support a giant magic ritual single-handedly when normally it would require the efforts of 200 magicians simultaneously. And he would also be able to use Index's knowledge to control an archangel, which he would use to bolster his defenses while preparing his final plan, helping him create the right conditions for it to come to fruition. Fix the distortion of the world. Another key part of Fiamma's plan was fixing the distortion of the 4 main elements of magic, which had affected the entire world. Just like Avatar: The Last Airbender, the 4 elements are fire, water, earth, and wind. And in Christianity, there are 4 archangels linked to each of them. Michael for fire, Gabriel for water, Uriel for earth, and Raphael for wind. But due to the distortion of the world's laws, the alignment of the elements swapped around, with Uriel and Raphael being the most affected, with Uriel now corresponding with wind and Raphael with earth, which explains why Vento of the front and Terra of the left have the wrong magic for their respective archangel. Speaking of angels, Sasha Khrushchev's body was used as a physical vessel by Archangel Gabriel during the Angel Fall arc, as Toma's dad accidentally brought one of the 4 archangels to Earth, thanks to buying a bunch of good luck charms. Yeah, the Angel Fall arc sounds pretty dumb on paper. When Gabriel was acting as Sasha, they used the name Misha instead, as this name is associated with Michael and not Gabriel. Another result of the distortion. Fiamma also set his eyes upon Sasha now that Gabriel had been banished and sent back to heaven. Sasha still had a huge amount of telesma left in her body, which is powerful magic energy used by angels. As Fiamma was aware of this, he wished to capture Sasha so he could use her for his magic ceremony later in World War III. Fiamma first made a physical appearance at the end of Old Testament 16, after both Vento and Aqua failed to retrieve Imagine Breaker for him. Fiamma stated to the Pope there was now a change of plans. He would postpone going after Toma for now, with Fiamma setting his sight on England, specifically the Index Librorum Prohibitorum. But the Pope was opposed to antagonizing Britain and attempted to stop Fiamma, which went as well as you'd expect, as Matairisa went into hiding with Vento. The opportunistic Cardinal Pietro Yogdis was given the authority of Pope to oversee Vatican City while Fiamma would be away. Fiamma believed World War III between magic and science was now inevitable, and he would now take action himself to make it a reality. Fiamma would face making the UK an enemy of the Vatican by causing unrest in their country, while it could be seen as a risk by antagonizing a strong magic side nation. Fiamma only cared about completing his plan, and viewed the potential destruction caused by a world war as mere background to his plan. The war itself was not the focus. Fiamma would collaborate with Britain's historic rival nation, France, because he knows how much we hate each other. France, being a majority Catholic nation, was happy to side with Fiamma's Vatican. France launched multiple terrorist attacks against Britain, including hijacking planes and bombing the Eurotunnel, connecting France and England together in the English Channel. This plan worked better than even Fiamma predicted, as Princess Carissa of the British royal family launched a coup d'etat against her mother, Queen Elizabeth, as she attempted to take over the country to make Britain great again, wanting to restore her nation's strength and authority as a world superpower. This caused internal conflict as Carissa allied herself with the Knights of England, while the Anglican Church supported Elizabeth. After Carissa's revolt ended with her defeat and the destruction of her katana original, Fiamma appeared in London to take one of the 2 Index John's Pen remote controllers, which allowed a user to access 103,000 magical grimoires in Index's head, and use the countless spells within. Fiamma then decided to kill Carissa, but was stopped by the unexpected appearance of Kamijo Toma, who had also helped stop Carissa's revolt. Fiamma revealed to Toma that he could summon Index and then permanently use her John's Pen mode, essentially turning her into Fiamma's robotic slave with the controller. While Fiamma needed Imagine Breaker as the key ingredient for his plan, he had not yet prepared the necessary ceremony to become the one above God. Therefore, Fiamma taunted Toma, telling him to find him in Russia if he wished to save Index, as Fiamma teleported away. While this situation went very well for Fiamma, as he now had access to Index, he did make a notable mistake, as there was another John's Pen remote controller in existence, The one Fiamma stole belonged to the British royal family, but the other one was still in the hands of the head of the Anglican Church, Archbishop Laura Stewart. Laura would proceed to use her controller on Index so that it would put a strain on Fiamma's control over her. Fiamma was now ready to start World War III, as he made an alliance with Russia, as the Russian president, Soldier I. Kranikov, declared war upon Academy City due to concern over their abuse of futuristic technology and its impact upon the world, and Academy City refusing to integrate with the world or hold peace talks. Fiamma made a deal with the Russian Orthodox bishop Nikolai Tolstoy. Nikolai would help assist Fiamma during the war with his Russian magicians and military soldiers, in exchange for becoming the new patriarch of the Russian Church. The current patriarch, Kranz, was imprisoned by Nikolai's men. Nikolai proceeded to steal Kranz's signature to authorize the war under his command. He would also provide the large amount of land needed for Fiamma to begin Project Bethlehem, the name of Fiamma's planned magic ritual. Fiamma viewed Nikolai and the Russians as mere pawns to achieving his own goals, viewing them as expendable, with them acting as a distraction for the enemy forces. And of course, Fiamma was not going to uphold his side of the deal. With World War III declared, the alliance of the Vatican, Russia, France, and Italy found itself at war with Academy City, with the UK, India, and China allying with the science side. And because history repeats itself, the US was too late to join the war again. Now Fiamma had Russia to help him complete his objectives. His first target would be to capture Sasha Khrushchev and utilize the vast amount of telesma in her body left over by Gabriel. Nikolai's troops, however, failed their objective, and Sasha took refuge in the Elizalina Alliance of Independent Nations, a small country that had gained its independence from Russia, which was neutral in the war. Fiamma discovered Sasha's location as he invaded the Elizalina Alliance, to which he easily defeats Elizalina's guards and Vento of the Front, who attempted to stop him, while also bumping into Toma yet again. Fiamma takes Sasha before Toma could save her as he teleported away. With Fiamma returning to his base, Nikolai expresses concern with how World War III is going, with Academy City's superior technology being too much for the Russians to handle, and the UK stalemating France on the Strait of Dover, with things going from bad to worse as the leader of France, the Maiden of Versailles, is convinced to swap sides and join the Anglicans. Fiamma, however, reveals he has a secret weapon to turn the tide of the war, that being Archangel Gabriel. With the Russian land being given to Fiamma by Nikolai, 200 Russian magicians working together created the flying fortress known as the Star of Bethlehem. It was now floating 3,000 meters above Russia, with it having a radius of a few dozen kilometers, formed of countless churches, cathedrals, and spiritual items from across the world. The Star of Bethlehem is symbolic of the birth of Christ in the New Testament, who was foretold as the Messiah to save humanity, just like how Fiamma viewed himself. Using Index's controller, Fiamma analysed the spell which was used to create the star, so that he could support its existence on his own. Therefore, Nikolai was unable to sabotage the star, once he figured out Fiamma had no interest in the war or fulfilling his end of their bargain. Kamisho Toma was also brought upon the star, meaning Fiamma had now successfully trapped Imagibreaker right where he wanted, in addition to Sasha. Acknowledging this, Fiamma stated he would rather have the side characters now leave. Quite a mocking and condescending statement in regards to those fighting World War III, risking their lives on the ground below. Fiamma then proceeded to summon the Archangel Gabriel from heaven, this time with its actual body instead of borrowing Sasha's. Due to Fiamma's alignment with Michael, he was able to summon Gabriel, due to the distortion of the four elements, meaning Gabriel was associated with Michael. Fiamma now desired to fix the distortion so he could utilize Gabriel's full power and access his own. However, he did lack one more essential item, that being lambskin parchments containing esoteric knowledge related to the other members of God's Right Seat and the Archangels that would not be contained within Index's library. The parchments had top secret information held by the Russian Orthodox Church that Fiamma did not previously have access to. While the Russians were transporting the parchments to Fiamma by train, they were intercepted and stolen by Academy City's #1 Level 5 ASCII Accelerator. And now Fiamma ordered Gabriel to retrieve them. Despite failing to take the parchments due to being stopped by Accelerator and Fuse Kazakiri, Gabriel was still able to obtain the magical information from the parchments due to her enhanced senses as an angel, which then transferred directly to Fiamma. Fiamma also used Gabriel's Astro In-Hand ability, the power to move the celestial bodies in the night sky, leaving the Star of Bethlehem as the only object visible in the heavens. Therefore, Fiamma would be able to establish the large flow of power needed, using the telesma present in the incomplete heavens above to finally reset the 4 elements, where his affinity to Michael would no longer be imbalanced. By doing so, he would be able to fulfill Michael's role on the right seat of God, and then reach his ultimate form. Despite Aqua of the Back using his affinity to Gabriel to weaken the angel as a former member of God's right seat, he was only able to cut Gabriel's power in half by absorbing a ridiculous amount of telesma, nearly killing him in the process. Nevertheless, this was not enough to worry Fiamma, as Gabriel had already fulfilled its purpose in Fiamma's plan, as he had successfully realigned the elements and now was ready to fight Kamijo Toma. Fiamma managed to sever Toma's Imagibreaker and absorbed it into his holy right, entirely dissolving his original sin and impurities, allowing him to finally complete his objective as the heavens changed, with Fiamma being given authority over heaven, which is another layer of reality known as a phase in the Toaru verse. Mysterious giant golden arms also emerged from Earth at random locations in the planet, each formed of pure telesma. Each arm was about to explode, which would allow Fiamma to cause mass destruction to life on Earth. Fiamma was also no longer held back by the limitations of the Holy Rite. The malice of the world was seemingly irrelevant for supplying his magic, as he was no longer bound by a limited amount of stocks for using the Holy Rite, meaning he could spam it as much as he wished. While the Holy Rite in base form would allow him to recreate any miracle involving the right hand in the Bible, his one above God form gave him the power to perform any legend in Christianity. Well, did this mean that Fiamma was essentially omnipotent, since God is described as such in the Bible, and yet Fiamma is supposed to be above even that? While Fiamma certainly believed he had achieved perfection, he was ignorant about a very important detail. Fiamma no longer needed Toma alive as he swung his arm, firing a blast capable of turning a planet to dust. But somehow, Toma stopped it, revealing an invisible power that even made the almighty Fiamma afraid. Things went from bad to worse, as Imagibreaker regenerated back in its original host, meaning it was no longer absorbed within the Holy Rite. Fiamma had quickly lost his ultimate power that he planned so much to achieve. This was the beginning of the end for Fiamma, as the war was coming to an end behind the scenes, meaning the malice fueling Fiamma's Holy Rite was drastically decreasing, forcing Fiamma to rely more on the spells from Index to defeat Toma. But then, he was also losing access to even that, due to the strain from Laura Stewart's use of her own controller. The magic and science sides were also working together to neutralize the golden arms before they would explode. Fiamma had one last trick up his sleeve, as he amassed the remaining telesma within the sky above him, which was enough to destroy the entirety of Eurasia. He unleashed a massive amount of angelic energy, but suddenly it was stopped by Accelerator, who managed to contain the blast in his white-winged form before it struck the Earth. Fiamma had now lost all his allies, his power was weakened, and he no longer had any tricks up his sleeve, as he was finally defeated by a classic punch to the face by Kamijo Toma. While Fiamma was spared, his right arm was severed by Alistair Crowley, who noted that Fiamma's plan was quite similar to his own, just that Fiamma lacked the knowledge of Imagibreaker's true nature and the mysterious forces that lie within Toma's arm. If he knew that, then who knows, Fiamma might have actually won and brought about a new age of humanity. While you could make fun of Fiamma for being utterly insane, that thinking his genocidal idea of saving the world make zero sense, Fiamma did genuinely believe his own bullshit, that his plan was necessary for saving humanity, increasing the malice of the world to its peak so that it could all be wiped out, and then restarting society where evil would be seen as a thing of the past. In his eyes, the ends justified the means, focused on saving the collective, as opposed to Toma, who prioritized individuals. If you're interested in how Fiamma's power works and the other right-hand users in Index, check out this video on screen right now for even more Index content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.